Hello, everybody. We are HP and Jacob Holo. We write stuff and we are charming, and we like to show off our charmingness occasionally by having these little streams where we can talk about whatever we're up to and the topic of the month. Or I guess technically it's been 2 months since we did this last time because life is chaos. But anyway, that's who we are. Hello, if you're meeting us for the first time, we are chaos, and that's how we roll. You were looking so perplexed over there, Jacob. Anyway, we write books, and we also have a cat. And we have been in various states of cat the past several months. Today's topic is Dazzle and Nova. And the reason why is because we have fans, but our cat Nova, I think, has more.
Well, I'm pretty sure Nova had more fans than I do.
Yeah, Nova is charming and wonderful, and she also passed away about 2 months ago at this point. And so we wanted to do a little video talking about her, but also talking about what happened after her, because within 2 days of her passing, we happened upon a little kitten who is really chaotic and deserving of this house. And so, because of the chaos he brings. And so we will talk about Nova, about Dazzle, and just about all the things of these past 2 months. It's going to be primarily a happy stream, though, because Nova, ultimately, though it's sad that she passed, we got 9 years of pure happiness out of her. And that's most of our marriage. Like, we got her when we've been married 2 years. And but before we do that, we just want to run down, I guess, our little book news. And so I like to start these out by saying, what our current projects are, what we're working on, what's new in our shop, etc., stuff like that. We have a ton of stuff, and not only because it's been 2 months since we did this. So, Jacob, you want to go first, or shall I?
Ladies first.
Okay, well, I got a whole pile, man. Yours is going to be easy. So first of all, you guys know one of the things I've been doing recently is building up a direct sales shop. There's a ton of new stuff in it this month. I've added, I think, all but one of our books to our signed books page. The only one that's missing right now is it came from the Trailer Park Volume 2, just because I actually haven't ordered it yet because I forgot. But also, so if you want signed books from us, you can pretty much get everything now. But also, we are running a 25% off signed book sale in the shop right now. And it's going to be through this Saturday. So if you want to grab a whole ton of our stuff, now is a perfect time to do it. And I'll put that link in the chat. I actually need to bring up the chat so I can see who's there. But okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that up because I'm going to forget, because I'm going to be talking so much. So let me type this in. Get signed books here. This is also in the notes and the description on YouTube and Facebook, so you can find all the stuff we're going to talk about there too. So that's my business news. Also, we have a bunch of new stickers in the shop. If you came to us through my Edie Skye pen name, which I probably should have put on my little screen over, which way do I want? There, wherever my name is. There's everything Titan Mage. I have also been receiving a ton of requests for gaming mats, and the first of those is up in the shop too. It is a Titan Mage one, and it is the most appropriate one because this is the art that everyone loves the most. So if you want to put Ember on your desk, she can take up your entire desk now, and it's a very nice mat. It's very soft. This particular version actually has an error on it because I put a picture that was a fraction of an inch too small when I sent in for my proof, but that has been fixed. But it is still a gorgeous desk mat. Let me put my books back. What else? Okay, the stuff you actually care about. People have been asking me for a while for Monster Punk Horizon number 4. That is happening in a slightly modified form. So my next Monster Punk book has officially started. I'm about nine chapters in. It is.
I've seen 7 of them, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I wrote more. You just haven't seen the other 3 because I still need to edit them. Other 2. I don't know numbers. You're the numbers person. I just put words on things. But it is going to be a collaboration between H.P. Holo and Edie Skye, so it's going to be a smutty one. And reason being, over the course of writing Titan Mage, I had a bunch of readers ask for Monster Girl themed books. And because of the way I've structured the Titan Mage universe, it's really hard to write a Monster Girl story in that setting without having to deal with issues of like, why didn't you establish that these monster girls already existed in the setting 5 books ago kind of stuff. But the Monster Punk Horizon universe is pretty much well set up for that. And in fact, I was actually going to write a harem parody novel in the original series, but didn't get to it because Titan Mage took off. So what is coming out? We're aiming for, I want to say, June of next year.
I think June.
At this point, Monster Girl Tamer Book 1. Main character is another guy who gets isekai'd through the dazzling skies and has to, long story short, collect a harem of monster girls to save the world. And I am currently writing it. It is being posted 2 chapters a week on my Edie Skye Patreon if you want to read it early. And yeah, what else have I got going on? Oh, I also finished 2 Titan Mage short stories that are going to be in 2 different anthologies next year. The first one is called Giant Freaking Robots, coming out from Raconteur Press. And I want to say that is it's not up for pre-order yet, but I want to say it's going to be a February release. And then there's another one called Paladins of Valor that it's going to come out the same weekend that Fantasy is, which is going to be April. But they're both 2 new stories set in the Titan Mage universe that I was invited to write. And so you get more Titan Mage, even though it's itty bitty. And let me look at my notes. What else is going on? I think that's all my news. So Jacob, what have you been doing this past month and a half?
Well, the Dyson file came out. So that came out, what, November?
Oh, yeah, November 7th. Yeah, we haven't had a stream since November 7th. Oh.
So that's book 5 in the Gordian Division series with David Weber. The Dyson File is my first solo novel, traditionally published through Bain Books. And yeah, I suppose I should have had it.
We've been busy, man.
But it's another sci-fi.
Oh no, I'm okay. My foot just hit my camera thing. I don't know where my camera fell. It's okay. It's facing the wall. You can continue talking. And
all right. So the Dyson File is another sci-fi police procedural. Once again, we have Detective Isaac Cho and Special Agent Susan Cantrell teaming up to solve a mystery. This one starts with the chief engineer of the Dyson Realization Project shooting himself in the head under very mysterious circumstances. And they're sent in to find out what's going on, and every piece of information that they find.
People watching, did you hear Jacob, or did he just freeze on my screen? I don't see any comments from people yet. You can continue talking. You're back now.
All right, you were your voice was doing a few weird things there.
Oh, like.
All right, you're back to normal.
Okay, we were having technical difficulties relating to our what's the word I'm looking for? Our internet before this. So if we disappear for a second, we're still here. It's okay.
It may be the house connection. There's obviously nothing we can do about that.
Possibly so. Okay. Oh, it's Froeby.
Right,
He says sound was fine. Okay. We have a thing to show related to Froeby too, so stay tuned for excitingness. Anyway, Jacob,
all right.
continue.
So everything that they uncover just compounds the mystery and leads to some very interesting, very weird, and occasionally very dark places of the Saturn and its environs. There's also a short story that I wrote for What was
yeah, you were giant freaking robots. Yeah, you're going to get 2 Titan Mage stories in that anthology because I let Jacob. I say I would if it's not a collaborative universe anyway.
So I both Heather and I, we were asked to participate in the Mecha anthology, and I also elected to write a Titan Mage short story. Mine is basically if John Wick was a Titan Mage.
Yeah.
And someone made the mistake of kidnapping his wife.
Yep.
What would he do? and I think everyone knows what John Wick would do in that situation is basically kill everyone in his path.
Was that anthology the one I wrote the helicopter one for? Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to remember because I switched them around originally. Yeah, okay, so my story in Giant Freaking Robots is loosely inspired by the fact that I played that one freaking helicopter tutorial on Armored Core 6 so many times, and I hated it at first, but I played it so many times I kind of eventually developed Stockholm Syndrome and started to love it. And the title of the story is called I'm in Love with a Helicopter. And it is the story of Ryan and Sevis going up on a mission against a helicopter-themed Titan, and Ryan falls in love with stuff as he does. And then my other short story is called Romancing Some Rock in Paladins of Valor. It's another Ryan and Sevis story, and it is, as you might guess from the title, it is sort of a pastiche of pulp adventure stories. If you're wondering if the title is inspired by Romancing the Stone, there is a beer in it called Jewel of Denial. So yes. Did you have other news, or were you saving your news for later?
No, I am not saving the news.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you talk then.
Okay, so I was a little bit bored this past month, because I am, for various reasons, in between contracts right now, and part of it is David's schedule, in that the next thing that he has to do is the next Safehold novel. So stuff for my schedule, the writing schedule in 2024 has been shifted around. And I didn't know that until like a few days ago, how that was all going to shake out. So I didn't really have anything to do this past month. So I wrote a book. Like a whole book.
Just like you started this book roughly right at the same time I started Monster Girl Tamer, and finished it like 2 days ago.
No, I finished it. I finished it a week ago.
Mine.
I finished it a week ago.
You did? I don't know anything about time, Jacob. I'm reading it right now, so that's been my project for this week. I'm slightly behind on Monster Girl Tamer right now, because I've been reading his stuff and also doing layout for. Oh yeah, I got a book coming out January 1st. I forgot to put that in mind. You finish yours first, though.
Okay, so what is this? What is this book about? It is something totally different from me. It is so different that it will not be released as a Jacob Holo novel. It will be released as an Edie Skye novel. So I've turned the manuscript over to Heather for her to add certain things as she deems. I will leave it up to the reader's imagination what she may or may not be adding to this manuscript. But it is urban fantasy. It is called Blood Knight Vampire Slayer. And I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, the origin of this one is there was a while back. You wrote a little short story called The Campaign, and we posted it to the Edie Skye Patreon, which I probably need to link here too. And it was just something that it was another, you had time and felt like writing something, and so you just wrote that and then gave it to me. And we posted it.
There's actually a little bit more to that.
Let me finish. But anyway, hello, sir. This is Dazzle. But anyway, we posted it, and I was really, really surprised at the positive response that it got. And so it was one of those things where it sort of turned into a, should we turn this into a series discussion? And so if you would like to read the original short story, I can pull it up and link it. But that's on the Patreon, and you're getting a full version soon. So you checking out the desk mat there, Dazzle? Yeah. Anyway, okay, continue.
So that was something that I wrote kind of to clear my head. I was coming off of the back end of a really terrible flare-up of chronic nerve pain, which had basically shut down my ability to write for 4 to 6 months. It was a long time. It was very, very unpleasant. So I wrote 2 short stories after that to kind of get my gear back in the correct headspace. And one of them was sci-fi, and it's related to Freelancers of Neptune. But the other one was like, I was just talking to Heather, and it's like, hey, I've got another idea for an Edie Skye series. And then I wrote the short story. And over the past like 2 months, I want to say 2-3 months, I've been putting together outlines for her. So I outlined 3 books in the Monster Girl series. I outlined another Titan Mage novel. And then I'm like, you know what?
That one too.
Well, you don't know when you'll get to it. It's part of the, it's just kind of there in the queue right now.
Yeah.
But I also outlined what the short story, the campaign, which then became Blood Knight. And so I had this outline, and I had time, and I'm like, you know what, even if I only get, some of it done, that's less work that Heather will have to do when, she swings over to it.
Because we aim to, on the Edie Skye name, we aim to release 4 books a year. And so if he's also writing under the Edie Skye name, that gives me a chance to get ahead and do stronger world building and stuff of that nature as the further out we get. So it's like we can release 4 books, and then I can have, let's say, 2 more that I'm working on or something like that. And so having Jacob work on the name is also, and you emulate my writing style really well, which I don't think you try to, but we meshed really well. Well, I mean, we're married, we're supposed to, but
well, I mean, there are a few reasons for that. I mean, part of it is that I did all the outlines for Titan Mage. I'm doing all of the outlines for novel length works that you're writing as Edie Skye. Mm-hmm. And also all of those books, I've been heavily involved in the editing. So in the process of editing them, some of my author voice ends up there. And so that kind of brings our 2 author voices closer together.
Yeah.
And it's not really like a conscious process that I do while writing, but just sort of the nature of how I'm approaching the work kind of makes my writer's voice kind of lean toward yours. Mm-hmm. So I think that once we're both done working on it, and you've added your touches,
yes,
to it, that it'll read very much like an on-brand Edie Skye.
And novel. That one is we've already got cover art in the works for it. We commissioned Yanai, who does, oh my gosh, who's the other harem author?
Bruce Centaur.
Bruce Centaur. He does some Bruce Centaur stuff, and we luckily managed to get into his schedule, and so he's taking care of that series so that we can keep Jackson on Titan Mage and Monster Girl Tamer, because he also did the Monster Girl or Monster Punk Horizon covers and just totally made that series with his covers. So we didn't want to destroy our illustrator. So we've got that cover coming. That one is expected to come out in March. So pre-order links will go up whenever, but we probably need to start talking about the actual topic at this point. Oh, quick one. I got a book coming out January 1st. It is Titan Mage, the Hot Springs episode. If you're on my Edie Skye newsletter, you've already received a version of it for free. But this new version, I heard the cries of the Ember fans who complained that she did not get a spicy scene in that one. And so the updated version has an Ember spicy scene. It's a novella, so not the whole, not the spicy scene. That would be a really long spicy scene, but it's a little side story, and the other than having the additional spicy scene, there is a paperback version that should release this week, and then the audio version, because Royal Guard Publishing is totally on it, is already out and is like number 10 in Gaslamp Fantasy in audiobooks right now. So if you love audiobooks, go for it. It's like $5. Actually, I think it's $3 right now because Audible's running a sale. It's a little bite-sized audiobook. But if you need your Titan Mage fix, go for it. It's there. Now we can begin the topic of the month. So as I said when we first started, Nova was our cat of 9 years, beloved by us, beloved by our readers. And every year I took her for a little checkup, just to keep an eye on her health and whatnot. And we knew at some point that she was going to develop kidney disease because our vet years ago had put her on a special kidney diet. And so I took her for her appointment last year, and her kidney related numbers were still in the let's just keep an eye on it phase. And so I wasn't really thinking much about it. And then I took her for her appointment this year, and she was not really showing anything that we could have taken for a symptom. Like, she was slowing down a little bit, but she was also 11 years old. And so we took her to the vet, and that night the vet called me and basically told me her numbers were catastrophic. And it was almost like, almost as soon as we got the call, we started seeing the symptoms, we started seeing the decline, and it was a hard week. I mean, it was because for me, I work from home, for the most part. It's either at home or out at coffee shops. And Nova was a very social cat. So she followed me everywhere. And so I couldn't go a single area of the house to write without somehow getting some kind of memory of her. So I spent her final week just kind of sitting with her. I didn't want to leave her alone. I didn't go out to coffee shops, but that was a really hard week because I've never had to put a cat down before. All of my cats before, they either passed naturally or ran off, and so that was to have to choose to put down a cat that was that big a part of my life was really, really rough. But there came a point where sometimes you want to keep an animal around, but at past a certain point, you're just doing it for yourself, and you have to take your animal's comfort into consideration. And there came a point where Nova just was not herself, and we made the decision to have to, relieve her suffering because she deserved to pass with dignity. And yeah, I made it through that without crying. Yes.
I mean, there were measures that we could have taken, but we kind of came to the conclusion that this would have been for us. It would not have been for her, and it would have prolonged her suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want that for her. And it was a very difficult decision to come to, and it took us some time to come to it.
Oh yeah, I bawled that entire week. Like, I had to remind myself to hydrate. I cried so much. Like, I was just an inconsolable mess.
But to give you an idea on how bad her kidney was, toward the end, she was simply passing water.
Yeah, like her kidneys were doing nothing.
So that just meant that all those toxins were essentially just building up in her. Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons why I think that her diet had disappeared, is because she was sick to her stomach basically constantly.
Yeah. I will say though, one of the sort of, like, there was a little blog post that I wrote that I posted it on Facebook first, and I put it up on our blog today very belatedly, where I basically I used it as a part of the grieving process for me, but I wrote about Nova being a very serendipitous cat. There were a lot of very magical elements to her, and I'm not going to read the blog post right now because I will just bawl my eyes out. But if you would like to bawl your eyes out in private, it's on our blog. Go read it. But one of the things about her passing that was interesting was that Nova was always a very sympathetic cat. She always, in her own little cat way, she always wanted to take care of us. And the week of her passing, we progressively saw her lose bits of herself. And the telltale thing for me, Nova, regardless of how bad she felt, if you said her name, she would flick her tail. And she would be like just absolutely asleep, and she would still flick her tail. And the telltale for me was that I said her name once a few times close to the end, and she didn't flick her tail, and that was kind of the sign for me. And but one thing that I learned about animals when they pass is that sometimes right before they pass naturally, they get this weird little burst of energy that sometimes makes you think they're going to recover. And around the time we had made the decision to put her down, she got that little burst of energy, and I got to see her tail flick again. And she sat in our lap. She did a whole bunch of things that she had not done in that week. And so before
she sat in my lap, she purred,
yeah,
you know, as I petted her.
And so right before she said goodbye to us, she got to take care of us. Oh, I'm crying now. Oh, I thought I would hold off, but I didn't. Wait, okay. Put him back in. Okay, I just touched my eyeball. That was weird. Okay, but we got to see some of the old Nova and got to send her off comfortably. Like, I held her as she passed. And we also, we took her to her vet, and we didn't want to because she really hated being in the car, and I didn't want one of her last memories to be being in the car. But in a way, that ended up being a blessing because she is, oh my gosh, our vet. She's beloved at our vet. I didn't know this until I want to say we boarded her about the third or fourth time. Our vet has little cat condos. Nova did not get a little cramped cat condo when we boarded her for cons. They would give Nova an entire examination room for her to wander around. And she was so well behaved a cat that the vets would, if they ever had to sit in their offices for a prolonged amount of time, they would bring her in and just let her hang out with them because, you know, she would just sit there and be good company. She wouldn't destroy anything. And so she was beloved by all of our vets too. And so it was absolutely sad because, you know, other people around us were crying over it as well. But it also meant that she was being sent off by more people who loved her. And there's a certain amount of comfort in that as well. So it was a rough week, but I think we also sent her off at the right time too, because according to, like, we spoke heavily with the vets before we did, just to make sure we were making the right decision. And one of the vets, the one who was sort of the head of that evening, said that she'd had several cats pass from kidney disease, and this was the point where she chose to do hers as well, because after that it's just miserable suffering until the end. And so to have that assurance was good as well. But so it was a week, but then it got happy, and which leads us into the happier portion of this stream. And okay, sad stuff is done, unless you want to bring up more sad stuff, Jacob.
No.
Okay,
no, I think we're done with sad.
About happy Nova memories and our new little cat. So first off, you have already seen him a little bit, and I will use a special trick to summon him over in a little bit too. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do it now. So one thing we have discovered about Dazzle, he is absolutely enamored with my printer. And we're going to see if this works. I'm just going to print something and see what he does. Is it going to work? Oh, I think it is. Oh, here he comes. He's navigating my mess. Come on over, man. You did. You didn't come up on the desk, man. Oh, there he is. Okay. Dazzle also likes to just climb onto my chair. He was much smaller when we first got him. So the story of Dazzle, okay, he's checking out the printer now. Whenever I print anything, he's got to run up here and put his face in it. Like that's what he's doing right now. Can you see him? Yeah. He's just waiting patiently for something to happen. And he's absolutely hypnotized by it. And I don't know why, but there we go. So the story of Dazzle. We knew we were going to get a new cat eventually. And you can feel free to chip in, Jacob. I'm just kind of going. Interrupt me.
Well,
I forgot an important thing. So one day we received a message from one of our readers from Froeby who said, keep an eye on your mail. And so I went, and we have a P.O. box that we use for business purposes. So we made a special trip out to see what was up in our mail and opened a little package and received this. And it's so small that the camera kind of blurs whenever I put it too close. But what we have here is a little miniature of a cat in a spacesuit that says always here, and it is painted to look exactly like Nova. And oh my gosh, when we opened this package, I cried so much.
She cried.
I did. It's just so. Thank you very much, Froby. It's beautifully painted. Like there's all sorts of little details in there, and I wish my camera would pick them up. I'm gonna have to take pictures and post them online. But it says her name on the back of her little helmet. There's actually little logos from the Indigo Griffin from the Titan Mage series, just on the sides of her helmet, and it's like right down to her little facial markings and her eyes. Like it's an amazingly detailed little thing. So I love it so much. And so thank you, Froby. I think we're going to put it in our little Nova shrine that we have, that we keep it. We have a little curio cabinet just full of Nova memories and whatnot. But I'm going to put it right here because Dazzle is attracted to things of that size. And what are you doing, man? I'm afraid he's going to like go play with it if I don't keep my eye on it. So it is sitting right in front of my camera, but it is a gorgeous little thing. So thank you again, Froby. It's such a wonderful little gesture in memory of Nova. And he says, oh, it was my pleasure to make it for you, he says. So, and thank you again so much. I forgot where I left off in the Dazzle story. Oh, I was beginning the Dazzle story. So we knew we were going to get a new cat eventually just because I love cats, and the house just felt sterile when we got home. After putting Nova down, it's like we could feel her absence because she filled the house so much, even though she was generally a quiet cat. And
she would also greet us at the door.
Yeah,
and you know, she was a lap cat, so she we would sit down for dinner or television. She'd jump up into typically my lap, sometimes your lap.
Yeah.
But
she was your cat. She was supposed to be my cat.
She was supposed to be
toward you. Yeah. But we'd intended to wait because coming up, we had also had we had a Disney World trip planned on the books, and we didn't want to get a new cat and then automatically be shoving them off at the vet. I didn't want to traumatize a little creature that way. But 2 days after we had to put Nova down, my mom got a text, and it was from one of my cousins, who said, I know it's really soon, but my boyfriend found this little kitten abandoned on a construction site, and my mom won't let me keep it. and so I was like, does Heather want to come meet the cat? Does she want to check out the cat? And initially I was like, no, we'll wait on it. Like, I appreciate the thought. But then I started sitting there and chatting with Jacob and thinking on it, and I was like, you know what? We're going to be in town that evening anyway. May as well go meet the cat. And
well, I suggested to you, it's like, why don't we go meet the cat?
Oh yeah, that's right. It was your suggestion.
Because I knew where this was going.
And so we went to meet them, to meet the little cat. And I want to say we sat down on the couch, and within 5 minutes, that little cat was asleep on your elbow. And we didn't take him home that night because Nova was effectively a senior cat, and she didn't get into all that much. And Dazzle was 8 weeks old and all kitten, and we knew we needed to clean up some stuff and kitten proof the house before we brought him home. So we brought him home the next night, and he has been a force of delightful chaos in our house ever since. He's at that age where he grows, like he puts on a new inch every week. When we first got him, I could fit him like right in my palms. Like he was just a little teacup sized kitten.
Is he about 6 pounds now? Something like that?
He was 5 pounds at his last vet visit, but he's probably getting to 6 now. And the thing about Dazzle that just really won me over is, like, I love cats. I love all animals. Like, when I die, it will probably be because I tried to pet something that I shouldn't have. I mean, I love them. And but the thing about Dazzle is that when we first met him, he was this just a little ball of tragedy. Like, he had just been dirty on a construction site. He had fleas. He was really emaciated.
Ringworm too.
He was really tragic.
He
he had ringworm, but
he had some sort of infection.
Oh yeah, he like had the whole shebang. But we met him, and despite all these little rough things, he was so affectionate, just like Nova. He squeaked just like Nova. And there was so much of Nova in him, even though he had nothing to do with her, that it felt like he was sent by her in a certain way. And so it's like, oh, I'm crying again. Good Lord, dang it. Ugh, okay, face. I thought I would be ready for this 2 months out. Okay, I think I'm good. I'm just gonna. Okay, they're back in there. Okay, but there was just so much of her loving personality in him that I was sold. Like, I was like, we're bringing this cat home now. Granted, the first month after we had him was nuts because of the fleas and because of the ringworm. We had to make sure that there was no chance of fleas getting in our house and of ringworm fungus remaining in our house. And so I deep cleaned the floor like every day, like vacuum, deep clean, move furniture, do all the stuff. It's like I got no writing done because I just clean it all the time. And
it worked.
Oh yeah,
it worked. We got rid of his fleas. We got rid of the ringworm. It didn't get out.
Yeah. And so it was a chaotic first few weeks. And also he's a very well, I don't know that I would say well-mannered. But when he was a little kid,
well, I mean, he has a lot of kitten energy.
He has a lot of kitten energy. But the thing is, so he was so little when we got him that he could very easily slip into things that we could possibly not get him out of. And so at night we had this big cage, this big pen that we'd put him in, and he would make all sorts of noise about it. But once he figured out that
he would like get up on his hind legs and he would be like shaking.
Well, the thing is, like, at night though, he would eventually calm down and curl up and he would be well behaved. But in the morning, the moment he figured out we were up, being in that cage was unacceptable, and he would literally climb the walls and meow so tragically, and he wanted to be out. And it's funny. I took a video and sent it to my mom, who my sister has a 2-year-old baby, and while she's at work, my mom likes to be grandma and watch her. And I sent a video of Dazzle to mom so she could show it to the kid. And my sister's baby was not having this. She loved Dazzle, and every single time she watched this video, she would say, "Let him out! Let him out!" And so I had to record a video of him playing to assure the 2-year-old that, yes, I did let Dazzle out. He is playing freely, and he's all good. And now he's big enough to be out of the cage. Might have to print something to get him back over here, but honestly, I'm kind of glad that he's not chewing on my hands because that's his thing now. There was a period when we first got him where he really loved to step on my face, and which was another of the reasons why he was in the cage at night, because I didn't want to risk losing an eyeball to a kitten who was unaware of his own powers. But he's sweet right now, and he was sweet from the beginning. So
I mean, like when we brought him home the first time, one of the first things that he did was to climb up on me and lick my face for I swear, like 5 minutes straight.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've got a picture. You're just incapacitated in the floor, and little teacup cat is just on your face licking it. And I think we've come to the conclusion that Nova was very much your cat, But Dazzle is we're thinking that he's probably going to gravitate toward me, which is really surprising because I'm the one who traumatized him the most because I had to give him a bath like every other day when he first came, and he just screamed so tragically to the point where there was a period early on where if I picked him up and walked toward the bathroom, he was not having it. He would scream and it was tragic sounding. And so I was really afraid that that was going to scare him from being around me, but no, he
loves you.
At 3:30 every single freaking morning, he comes and sits on my chest and licks my lips. And like I understand that he's trying to be sweet, but oh my gosh, Dazzle, he doesn't do it to you.
No.
And then,
I get peaceful night's sleep.
Yeah.
Your new cat likes you and likes to lick
Yeah.
your face.
And then, but he also, like, if sometimes I go and I take a little nap in the middle of the day, usually to help just assuage my tension headaches. And Dazzle, though, will always curl up somewhere around my head or on my chest. And a few nights ago, he actually curled up right next to me. And it was really nice having this really warm kitten on my face. But then he started purring. And it's supposed to be a comforting sound. But Dazzle has such a loud purr, louder than Nova's. It sounds like I've got my face on a muscle car when he purrs on me. Like you cannot go to sleep to that. I had to turn off my white noise machine or my white noise on call to so I could actually get to sleep because the other ear was just cat purr. Yeah, I'm talking about you. He's checking out another into the room. But yeah. So let's see here. We have to tell some Nova stories eventually. Now, I want you to talk about you and Nova had a special relationship, it seemed
Yes.
like. So I want to hear some Nova stories from you because she gravitated toward you. Like Nova, if Jacob was home, Nova was all over Jacob. And she would only come to my office or come outside and give me a look like, well, I guess you're good enough. And then she'd be all loving, but I wasn't Jacob.
So I got two Nova stories that immediately come to mind. So the first one is a fairly simple one. And so I'm sitting on the couch. I'm playing video games, as I do. It was probably Monster Hunter World
Yep.
at that point in time. Nova climbs up onto the couch. And I don't realize this because I am very much focused on whatever monster I am hunting. And my hands and the controller are sitting in my lap. Actually, let me correct that. My hands and my controller are sitting in her lap. All right, because this is her spot and there's something occupying it. And so she's trying to figure out what to do about this. And so what does she do to remedy this situation? Because she wants to sit in the lap. And there's an obstruction in the lap. So she smacks my hand. and I go, what? And I just kind of like, didn't even think about it. I just lift up and I'm like looking, and she immediately just climbs into my lap, plops down.
Yep.
Curls up in a bun, starts purring.
She knew what she wanted.
I'm like, okay, all right. The human has been trained very well.
We've got to tell the story about her and your tumor because that was straight up amazing.
That's my second story that I was about to tell.
Okay. Before we do that, though, there's something I forgot to mention at the very beginning. We're going to be giving away signed books at these things now. And so if you want to try to win any book from our shop, I just put a link in the comments. There's also a link in the description on both YouTube and Facebook. Fill out the little form behind that link, and we will randomly draw someone to win a free book. We're giving away 2 books. One is for everyone. The other one is we're taking the Bane Roadshow route and doing if you're a veteran or teacher or librarian or first responder, we will be giving away an additional book to that amazing group of people. So if you want to try to win a signed book, just fill out that form and we will do a random drawing after the show. Okay, continue.
So starting in late 2019, I started having a lot of issues with pain. Didn't know what was going on. The doctors didn't know what was going on. Nova somehow knew kind of what was going on. And so what she would do, I would be in bed. And so she would climb up onto the bed. And she would go to this one spot in my lower left abdomen. And she would sit down there and she would purr. And she did that very consistently for months. And it wasn't like she was, just plopping down anywhere. It wasn't even like she was like, oh, just somewhere in the abdomen areas. Always the left side, almost always the left side. I'd say like 95% of the time, it was the same spot. And I'm underneath the covers. She can't see me, but she's ending up in that same spot every single time. Well, what ended up being there? A tumor. A tumor, yep. a lipoma, fatty tumor, was pressing down on a major nerve branch, and made worse when I was in a seated position because that would compress the area, and so take that tumor and cause it to drive into the nerve more intensely, which is as unpleasant as it sounds.
Yep.
2 MRIs and an ultrasound failed to find this.
Mm-hmm.
Our cat found it. I have no idea how, but it was very, very consistent behavior. And then after it was removed, she stopped doing it.
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing. And the thing is, like, once she did that, we started noticing that anytime either of us felt any kind of sick, she would be there, usually sitting on the place that was feeling bad.
I think you either had COVID or the flu.
Mm-hmm.
And she came up and she sat on your chest.
Yeah.
And that was very unusual for her because she normally
she's not a chest cat.
Well, she was going to, sit on someone, at night. It would typically be me, or sometimes like down at the end of the bed near our feet.
Yeah, she was more of a foot cat. And in retrospect, one of the things that should have tipped me off to her not feeling well, regarding the kidney, was I had it didn't test as COVID, but it felt awful enough to be COVID, and I was in bed for a week, and not once did she leave her little spot on the couch to come be with me, and that was uncharacteristic behavior that I feel really awful for not noticing it. But on the flip side, she was so far along in her kidney disease at that point anyway that I don't know that we could have done anything to even make it better.
And part of it is that with the as our vet said, with cats in general, they hide their pain. Yeah. And so we all we really saw up until maybe a week and a half before the end was her slowing down.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's what, at that point she was 11 years old.
Oh yeah. She was like right on the edge of being a senior cat. And we actually, one of my favorite Nova stories has to do with her stair step. So there came a point where Jacob noticed, this was, I want to say, a year before she passed, and Jacob noticed that Nova was slowing down a bit and not jumping onto certain things as much as she nearly used to, because there were certain chairs and whatnot that she liked to sit on that were just maybe a little high for her joints, and we thought it was because she was aging. And so Jacob had me go buy a little step stool, a little stair step that's like 2 feet high, so she could get back up onto our bed, because she hadn't been on our bed a lot at that point, which is one of the places she really liked to sit. And so we take her to the vet, and I'm just concerned at that point because she was slowing down, and it turned out that she was not getting old at all necessarily. Or, I mean, she was aging, but she did not need her stair step because she was getting old. It turned out that around that time, we had left her with, we'd had my mom come and take care of her while we were at a con. And I left
It
instructions
was
on
more
how
than one con.
well, for more than one con. I think there were a bunch consecutively.
Yeah.
But my mom had come over and misinterpreted my feeding instructions. And Nova.
Significantly.
Well, we usually feed her like half a cup of, well, not half a cup, but half, like an eighth a cup of food. And I think we left.
No, it was more than an eighth of a cup.
No, well.
We have a scoop that we use.
Yeah, we have. Well, there were 2 different scoops in there too, which I think added to the confusion. But anyway, Mom fed Nova with the wrong scoop, and Nova put on some weight, and it wasn't enough weight that I really got suspicious about it. But it was apparently enough weight that she was having difficulty jumping onto things. So Nova was not sick. Nova was just fat, and we got her.
Well,
and we got her stairs, and we eventually, like, we got her off of, we got her back down. Because see, the thing with one thing I learned early on with Nova is that cats, for most cat breeds, the ideal weight is 10 pounds, 10 or 11 pounds. And but we're so accustomed to the stereotype of the fat cat that we tend to think that the fat cat is the cat ideal. And that's not the case. And so it puts it in a different perspective when she puts on a pound. Like 11 pounds is overweight for a cat that's supposed to be 10 pounds, because 1 additional pound is 10% of their body weight. And that's not a healthy weight to put on. And so we were very cognizant of feeding Nova the right amount. And the thing is too, before we adopted her, oh, that's another story. Before we adopted her, she was a stray. And the entire time we had her, she was always very nervous about food. She was never the kind of cat where we could leave food out all the time, because she would just eat it nonstop, because she had that instinct.
Yeah, she would scarf down anything you put in front of her, even to the point of making herself sick and then
and then barfing it back up.
Yeah.
Like, we cleaned up so much cat barf. Oh my gosh. But Dazzle does not have that problem. Dazzle has figured out that he is going to have food forever, and he gets really mouthy whenever he doesn't get his very fancy food, don't you, sir? And we spoiled this cat. I made the mistake of starting him out on the Fancy Hills science diet food, and then when I tried to switch him to something else, he looked at it like, "What is this peasant food?" and every night I gave him, back when he was very little, my vet recommended that I give him some wet food to keep with hydration. And lovely view, Dazzle. Just to make sure that he was properly hydrated when he was very young. And so we would give him this wet gravy based kind of food, and we would give it to him in the evenings. And I had intended to wean him off it at some point, but he's learned to associate that wet food with when I'm in the kitchen making supper. And if he doesn't get it, he lets me know. And good luck with trying to wean him off of that. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, I gotta accept that he's gonna be eating really bougie cat food from now on. So the story of how we got Nova, I know I've told it. We've mentioned it on panels before, and we've mentioned it on I want to say on the stream at least once. But it seems inappropriate to have a panel or have a stream about Nova without recounting the story of how we got her in the first place, because it is an epic tale. And so Jacob and I married, and I wanted a cat. Like, I love cats. I wanted a house cat. I had 2 cats before we married, and had intended to bring them along, but Jacob doesn't like pet mess, so we were trying to train them to be outside cats. And
this
so
is also the stage in our marriage where I didn't realize just how much of a force of chaos you are, and that the cat mess compared to the Heather mess is really
the cat mess
not that big.
Yeah. And
it is eclipsed.
And so I had 2 other cats, and I went and took them to my parents and tried to get them used to living outside at my parents' house. And I stayed there for a week to let them know, hey, this is a safe place. But the moment I left, one of them, they both went off to have cat adventures. One of them we have not seen since. The other one took up with a family down the street. And so my dad would see her in the neighborhood occasionally. But by that point, she had taken up with another family. And it's like they'd already gotten attached. I wasn't going to take my cat away. And so I was catless and didn't like it. But Jacob did not want a cat. So we get 2 years into our marriage, and one of my friends posts an image of this little cat she's found. And this little cat had been coming up to her condo for weeks and was a really sweet, really charming cat. But one day came up and had this massive gash in its side as if it had gotten in a fight with something. And so she took the cat to the vet, got it all fixed up and whatnot, and intended to adopt it. But her other 2 cats just did, like the 3 cats just did not get along. I think it was Nova that tried to be the queen of their house, like, and she was just
be
trying
consistent
to
with what we saw from Nova around.
And so it wasn't going to work, and so she wasn't going to rehome her existing cats, obviously, and so she started looking for a home for Nova. And I look at Nova, and I look at her disposition and what Jennifer had told us about her. And I was like, this is my cat. Now I got to convince Jacob. And so I went and showed Jacob the image, told him the story. And he was like, no, we're not getting a cat. I know your mess. I know cat mess. No. So I began the campaign. And I started sending Jacob pictures like, cats help alleviate anxiety. Here's an article about it, because at the time I was having really, really bad anxiety issues. Here's some cute gifs of cats making funny rainbows out of their paws. Here's some of this. Here's what your life could be like with a cat. And this goes on for a few weeks, and we get to the point where my friend wants
she was trying to soften me up, but I can be pretty cold and jaded at times. And I'm like, no, I don't want a cat. I don't want the mess.
Yeah. And so we get to the weekend where my friend wants to be rid of the cat because she's got something coming up, and I decide to pull out the nuclear option. So some years before that, I had a melanoma, and early on at the time, we didn't know if it was going to be terminal cancer or not, but we did know that melanoma is the most aggressive form of skin cancer. And it ended up like we went through a whole summer and had an excision, had all that done. Then it turned out that the melanoma was caught early enough that my dermatologist may have actually gotten the entire thing when she scooped it off initially to do the initial tests, but we still did all that stuff. But anyway, when we were discussing what we were going to do if it did end up being terminal, I said that I was going to quit work and finish my first novel. Jacob said, we're going to get a cat. And then that summer happens, and craziness and stuff goes on. That was actually the summer we met David Weber too. Man,
yes,
it's a wild summer. But and so we just kind of forget. And so I sit down to write my letter and put together an email. It's like, Jacob, I really appreciate just how you've supported me through all of the really rough things we've been through over these years. Because I mean, getting married and then having to face cancer a year or two into it is it's a tough thing to go through for a young couple. So I go through this, I pour on all this wonderful saccharine, lovey-dovey stuff, and then I get to the end. And I'm like, that said, I think it's really unfair that I kicked cancer's butt and I still don't have a cat. And you cried a little bit, and then I went to get the cat that weekend. So it was savage.
Nuke deployed.
Yep. But I used it very well, and we got 9 years of wonderful memories out of that little cat. So,
yes.
But yeah, and she of course found her way into Monster Punk Horizon, and she's actually not all that much in Monster Girl Tamer. The reason why being like it's implied that she and Sacha are off having their own kind of adventures, and the reason why is because Nova is a very, very she's characterized as very childish and very innocent, and it just felt, it's like Monster Girl Tamer is a smutty harem series, and it just felt weird to have a character like Nova who is so innocent and so pure in a series like that. And so she's going to be returning when I continue the mainline series.
Well, there were also some structural issues with having them, and that, you know,
Yeah.
there's a certain point where the cast just becomes too numerous, too unwieldy.
Yeah, and that was especially since Monster Girl Tamer has it has there's some recurring cast from the original series, but it is primarily a new cast, and in fact, Pix and Jazz actually become the villains in book 2, which I'm absolutely looking forward to writing. Well, not the
Spoilers.
What? It's not. It's gonna be in the blurb, man. Part of the plot is that these monster girls are showing up all over the monstrous continent, and it's the main. Some of the characters are like this. This could be really bad for our society and our ecosystems and all this stuff. And so Pix and Jazz are, well, mainly Pix. Jazz just along for the ride. They're like, we need to figure out what's creating these monster girls, and we need to stop it. And the main character is like, I need to amass a harem of monster girls. No. and so it's a fun little story, but I'm really looking forward to writing Pix and Jazz as the antagonists in book 2 of the series, because that's going to be great. And Martin Truther says, loving the Monster Punk books. Thank you, Martin. They have been massively fun books to write, and I'm really glad to be back in that to write it to really glad to be back in that universe. But the reason why I brought up Nova too is because Nova is one of the ways I deal with I deal with most things is to write about them, but one of the ways I deal with grief is to write in response to it. And so I've gotten a lot of little ideas about how to give Nova some longevity in our various writings. And so she will be showing up in certain aspects of the Titan Mage series. I've got some short stories here and there where you will definitely be seeing more of Nova. But yeah.
And Dazzle.
And Dazzle. Yeah, Dazzle shows up in Monster Punk Tamer too. He's not a part of the main cast, but he's kind of in the background. He's one of the attendants at the Society for the Exploration of the Monstrous Continents library. And he is delightful. But yeah, there's a whole lot. Man, it's already 9:00. How did we killed a whole hour and we didn't even talk all that much. I mean, we did talk a lot, but good Lord. So we can, granted, we can talk about Nova and Dazzle all night. Do you have any fun Dazzle stories that you want to tell? Because I think we only told like a Dazzle story.
Well, it's...
Troy says I was going to ask where we would see Dazzle. He actually shows up in, I think it might be the chapter I am posting on Wednesday, if I recall correctly. He's coming up very soon. In Monster Girl Tamer, which, by the way, again, you guys can read on my Patreon, which I have linked. Yeah, I've linked it in the comments. And so yeah, and again, if you want to try to enter to win a signed book, don't forget to fill out that form. But yeah, Dazzle, we will have plenty of Dazzle stories. Trying to think if there's anything that has really stood out other than him licking my face. I mean, everything stands out about him. I can't write at home with him in the room, because as I try to write, he wants to play with anything that moves. And I write by hand when I work on my novels, he will come up and try to chew the end of the pen as I am writing with it. And it's just, I can't get him to stop doing it. So that's something we got to work on. But we at the very least have gotten.
There have been a few times where I've been on the couch with the laptop out and my headphones in, and I've been writing, and Dazzle has come over and decided that.
You yet?
Pardon?
Has he dive bombed you yet, like Donut did? Oh,
yes. He did dive bomb me once, and that hurt.
Yeah, there's quick Nova story. It actually was somewhat fortunate that we weren't introduced to Dazzle until after Nova passed, because the thing about Nova, she is an absolute marshmallow sweetheart when it's just her. But you put her around other cats, and suddenly she's like full on Game of Thrones, I'm going to murder you. And so we, at one point, we attempted to adopt this little cat who had this, we found her in the storm drain in our neighborhood. And she had this little tortoiseshell pattern, which I saw that and remembered that Princess Donut from not Monster Hunter Carl, Dungeon Crawler Carl had a tortoiseshell pattern. And I was like, that's Princess Donut. That's our cat. And we attempted to adopt Princess Donut. and tried to get the two accustomed to each other over the course of several months. And the first time we let them out together,
there was blood.
There was literal blood. And it actually was on the part of Donut. Like, neither of them liked each other, but Donut slashed Nova's face. And if
we tried, we went through all the steps. We did it nice and slow. We gave them treats to positively reinforce the presence of the other one, and it just wasn't happening.
Both of them, they were identical cats in personality, right down to how territorial they were. And so we ended up rehoming Donut with one of our readers, actually. And but so that was there were Donut stories, but Donut was about a year old, and I just remember one night she jumped off of my chair and just dive bombed you in the middle of the night, and the scream that came out of your mouth, I thought you had just been murdered.
It hurt.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah,
and it was very unexpected. I mean, you're in bed. You're in a safe place, typically, and I was attacked.
Yeah, but we may have to do another one just about Dazzle himself, because we will definitely have more stories of Dazzle. Dazzle is all kitten energy, and I was not expecting this level of energy, because this is my first time having a kitten. All the cats I've had before we found when they were 1 or 2 years old, and Dazzle is just insane. Like he has his calm moments, but morning and night, and occasionally sometimes in the afternoon, he's just all zoomies. Like, you cannot contain him. And it's wild how much energy he has. He goes absolutely feral for the printer and for your laser pointer, which Nova was never all that interested in the printer, but not Jacob, but Dazzle looks at it like he can see God in it. Like, it is the most profound look.
He got frightened of his own water bowl yesterday.
He did. And then another thing too that absolutely bewilders me about him. So my printer is one of those all-in-ones that has a document scanner on the top. He is fascinated with the printer part, but if I use the document scanner and nothing comes out of the printer, he looks at it like it is some force of cosmic scale horror. Like, he puffed up and backed up and hissed at it, and I'm just like, dude, it's a printer. But for some reason, if it doesn't actually produce any paper, he's just, no, it's an evil thing. I'm not going to be in the same room with this thing. So watching his kitten logic has been an interesting thing. Oh, we forgot to, you gotta tell him about the game you play. We're just going to go over 9 o'clock. Unless you're hungry, in which case tell your story fast.
What game?
The game you play on the couch. Okay, I'll tell. Okay, so Dazzle is at the age where he likes to do hunting games. He likes to do hunting and pouncing and playing games. And for whatever reason, whenever Jacob goes to sit in this specific chair, Dazzle thinks, oh, it's playtime. And it's probably because, like, the first few weeks we had him, he really liked to jump up the back of our couch and bat at whatever he could see over the edge of the couch. And so Jacob will hide behind our couch and just kind of peek his head up. And Dazzle will just hunker down and, adjust his little butt and then pounce up. And he doesn't actually attack Jacob, though. Like, he's very tender with his claws, and he'll just come and do a boop and then go hunker back down.
Yeah, occasionally he'll just give me a little pat with his claw,
it's just the sweetest thing. Like, he's learning how to keep his claws in, which is wonderful, because he did not know how to do that as a young kitten. But we found a funny variation of it now, because I don't know if I don't have it in here right now, but I have a hat that it's a Monster Hunter Palico hat, and there's really conspicuous cat eyes and ears on the top. And I didn't think anything of it, but one day I sat down behind the couch and my hat peeked up over the couch, and suddenly there is cat on me. And it turns out that for whatever reason, Dazzle goes absolutely insane for this one hat. And so I'll play the little game with him, and I have to be careful to make sure that he's not going to mess with my eyes or anything. Like, I put my sunglasses on, but he doesn't even take time to, like, calibrate. He sees my hat, or he sees me, like, hunker down behind the couch as if I'm going to sneak, and he is just he puts his whole body on it, and he's just wrestling with my Palico hat. So I actually have to put the hat up whenever we're letting him roam the house because he'll wrestle with it, and I love that hat. So, but it's just the energy. I cannot. I have to be careful about bringing the hat out at night because it just makes him so hyper that it takes forever to calm him down so we can get to bed. But that's just a funny thing. So do you have any more stories that you would like to tell, Jacob, or should we start wrapping up?
I think we should start wrapping up.
Okay. Well, just our quick little things that we chat about. What you've been reading, watching, playing, whatever. Have you been reading anything, or you've mostly been writing?
I have been reading a few things. I'm not going to talk about the one that I'm not crazy about. Just
okay.
But what?
Don't bring it up if you're not going to talk about it, man.
Well, I mean, I did read. I did
go on with mine. Okay, let's see. What am I reading?
So no, hold on. Let me get to it.
We're wrapping up.
Yes. So I did read just to sort of like branch out, try something new, read something that I typically would never read, but hey, it's popular. So I read the first book in the Anita Blake series of Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series by Laurel K.
It's
Hamilton.
Way out of Jacob's usual genre.
Oh yeah, it's way outside what I would normally read. But so it's called Guilty Pleasures, and the main character is supposedly a very proficient vampire hunter. So much so that the vampires call her the executioner. However, she seems to have this habit of ending up in really bad situations with none of her weapons. And there's actually literally a point where she arrives at her apartment and is concerned that there might be someone waiting in her apartment to ambush her. But the reason she goes in is literally, F it, I'm tired.
See, I understand that kind of logic. I do that all the time. Like, not that I'm a vampire hunter, but F it, I'm tired is like half of my motivations a lot of times.
But it's kind of funny because, okay, so you look at like the harem genre, and certain quarters will condescend to harem novels. And so I'm reading this and I'm like, this has got the same sort of ridiculousness. It's just been flipped because Anita is surrounded by all these bad boys. They're all very, very dangerous. And there's like one of them, and it's like he could kill her at any point, but she's kind of okay with that.
He's hot. It's fine.
Oh yeah, they are all hot.
Yeah.
Bad boys.
Logic. And I'm gonna read it next because it sounds like it's right up my alley. But I love that kind of stuff.
But
I think I actually bought it first, and then you picked it up because you just wanted something to read. And
I just wanted to read something different, and for some reason I picked that.
It's short too. I love short books so much. I'm a slow reader.
But it was sort of also because the Anita Blake series has sold like 6 million books.
Yeah, I have.
So, and reading it, it's like, yeah, Laurel K. Hamilton as an author, she's got some serious chops.
But that's the thing. Like,
but approaching, let me finish. This was my read. Let me finish. So approaching it from like the standpoint of an author who like writes for Baen Books and writes with David Weber, I approach it from a very different mental position than is appropriate for the audience that it's targeting, because it's it's apparently tough woman, but she's put in situations where she's in danger and she's surrounded by bad boys that are very dangerous, but also very hot. And it's just,
well, see,
it's
for
funny.
Someone who read a lot of the genre, it reads weird. But the thing is, for someone who enjoys the genre, that's a straight up genre trope. Like it's something that appears in a lot of that. And it's,
I get that.
the differences between genres is something that has absolutely come to fascinate me as an author, because you find out that there's more to genre than just subject matter. Readers approach their favorite genres with different sorts of logic than they do. There's I just lost my train of thought. But it's really interesting from an author perspective to learn things like readers of certain genres spend money differently than readers of other genres. Like some readers in some genres are much more likely to want to just buy a book straight out than they are to want to test out a free copy. And that's something I've just discovered in the course of all my marketing research. But it's just really, really interesting on a sort of marketing psychology level. But is that there's just so many ways in which genre can affect a reader's thinking.
So what have you been reading?
Okay, so I've been reading, let's see here. I finally finished Jane Lindskold's Aurora Borealis Bridge. I started it like 2 months ago and then cleaned my office and I couldn't remember where I put it. And so I found it again and picked it up, and it's wonderful. It's book 2 of the Overwhere series. And I absolutely love its tagline because it is, can it get any stranger? Absolutely. I didn't even need to read the blurb. I just bought the book. And it's a very charming, magical, kind of an isekai story. No, it's portal fantasy. It's in the first. I'll just do a quick summary because I think I've already talked about the first one. 3 old retired ladies get summoned to another magical world and to be the mentors to the precocious youths, sort of. And there's a lot more to it than that, but it's an absolutely charming story. Largely because a lot of fantasy is about the young hero, but you get a fantasy story from the point of view of the people who have experience and are trying to guide these young people through their own adventures. And it's really cool. And there's a third one that I got to start too, but that's my recent read. I absolutely love it. Go read it. Next, I have read Rogan's Monsters, book number 1, Wasteland by Jack Porter. Primarily because it's a monster girl harem, and it's been sitting on my to read list for a million years. And I really enjoyed it. It's a very straightforward story. It's one of those, we got to get to this place, let's have an adventure to get to this place kind of things. Like, it's very simple plot. But I like the characters. I really, really like the short chapters, which is something that I'm a very slow reader, as you can see, because I've been reading this one for 2 months. And I really like that some of these chapters are like 5 pages long, and it makes it like the potato chip of books, because it's so easy to just be like, oh, I finished a chapter. Oh, I'm just going to read another. Oh, I'm just going to read another. Oh, I'm just going to read another. And suddenly you're done with the entire book. I want to say I finished this in a week, which is phenomenally fast for me. But anyway, the monster girls are cool. Even the opening world is cool. Like, there's aliens and they're attacking, and then suddenly he dies and he's in a fantasy world. And I love it. But that is Rogan's Monsters. And I also just started Gideon the Ninth, which I primarily read because one of my friends was absolutely raving over the smartass main character, but also the front of the book says lesbian necromancers explore a haunted gothic palace in space, and that's a lot of things that I like. And so I was automatically sold. But I want to say I'm 20 pages in, and I've already been stopping like every few pages to read Jacob a sentence from it. So it's hilarious and wonderful thus far. So that's what I'm reading. What have we been watching? We've been watching Babylon 5. Yes. You look so enthused.
Well, if we start talking about Babylon 5, we'll be here another hour at least.
We'll do a Babylon 5 episode after I've watched more of it.
Yeah, you need to get through more. You haven't even made it through the first season yet.
Jacob has seen the entire thing. I am a Babylon 5 virgin. I've seen 5 episodes and the animated movie and the prequel movie. And I really like it thus far. But yeah, we just need to do an episode on that. So do that. I think that's the only thing you've really been watching recently. I finished Blue Eye Samurai, which was kick ass. It was going to be my workout show, but every single time something badass happens in it, I have to stop biking so I can watch it. And there has been very little biking done over the course of these 8 episodes. So it's just, if you like a lot of people have been comparing it to Arcane with the level of maturity that it has. And it's not quite as good as Arcane. but it comes freaking close, and it's a great one. So, oh, bye, Martin. Thanks for stopping by. What else have I been watching? I think that was Babylon 5, but yeah, Blue Eye Samurai is my latest watch, and that one has been spectacular. I love it. What have you been? I haven't been playing anything. I've just been sorting Digimon cards. You have been playing Cyberpunk and anything else?
The Dead Space remake.
Yes. So if you want to talk about, I don't know anything about
I mean, we really, I think we still need to talk about what we're working on.
We did that at the very beginning.
No, not what we're currently. Well, what are you
currently working? What else are you working on?
You cut me off.
Sorry. Okay, talk about it.
You cut me off before.
You have the floor.
All right. Hopefully Froby's still here.
Froby, still here, comment.
So I have a slot in my schedule. I have a 6-month slot. And I am going to be pressing forward with Blood Knight 2 and Blood Knight 3.
Yep. So we're going to be getting more of that.
Yeah. So for anyone who we really never explained the premise of Blood Knight.
Oh, so yeah.
We have our main character. His name is Clark. And he finds out that the world is secretly ruled by vampires. And most of humanity is under various types of spells that make them really just not see the fantastical elements around them. And he's special. He comes from a very powerful, very ancient, and nearly extinct line of vampire slayers called Blood Knights. Mm-hmm. And his comrades in arms, they basically form an organization called Broken Fang. That their ultimate goal. And they're aiming high because there's just 5 of them right now, but they're aiming high, and their goal is to free humanity from the vampires. So that is the overall premise: is 5 college students trying to take on the vampires that secretly control the entire world,
while also being really horny about it.
Well, there's that too.
Oh, Roby says, you two seriously need to watch They Live minus the magic. The control bit is on point. We should add that to our list. We need to watch more vampire movies in general. There's a ton that I've missed. I've never even seen The Lost Boys. Like an old classic. We need to catch up on those. We need to make a point to watch some kind of classic vampire movie. All right. It is 9:23 now. So have we even eaten dinner yet? I don't even know. What even is time? All right. So I think we are officially going to wrap it up now. But thank you guys for joining us. If there are any other topics you want us to hear, excuse me, dang it, words. If there are any other topics you want to hear us talk about, it doesn't necessarily even have to be anything writing related. It can be random junk like favorite video games or whatever. Leave a comment or email us, whatever, let us know. And we plan on doing these every month, possibly more than once a month if we get enough requests. But these are just fun little ways to hang out with you guys and talk about what we're working on. So yeah, thank you for watching. Again, there's the contest entry. Go enter to win some free books. And that's it. Okay, I think we're done now. Okay, bye. Are you going to wave, Jacob? Okay.
I waved. I waved. Okay. I gave a little wave.
Okay, yeah. Bye for real.